Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Lori. Today I'm doing a video on the subtle bodies, and I want to explain why we have the subtle bodies, what they are, and how it plays a significant role right now in our ascension process and what we're all going through. So I'm going to begin by saying that before there was a third dimension, there was a fifth dimensional earth, and there were fifth dimensional humans on the earth. And so when the human form was designed, it was designed to live or participate in a fifth dimensional field. And so these beautiful beings of light created the physical form, and when they created the physical form, they also created the energetic grid within the physical form to hold the light and to filter all of the consciousness or experience that human in a fifth dimensional vibration was going to feel and move through as they moved down into a more dense field of consciousness, which was the fifth dimension. So they designed the subtle bodies, the physical body, the mental body, the emotional body, and the etheric body. And they're actually not bodies, other than the physical body is a body, but the other three are fields. So you can imagine it like a field of energy. So the etheric body is actually just a field of consciousness that holds a specific frequency and vibration. And the emotional body or field is designed to hold specific frequencies and vibrations and consciousnesses. And the mental field is designed to hold and filter through specific consciousness and frequencies and vibrations. Now, remembering and knowing that everything is consciousness, which means that everything is energy. When the light being comes down into the physical form, they enter into the light being, the aspect of you that is the light being, moves into the etheric body and settles into that field within the physical form. And then the fifth dimensional human begins to walk about in their world and have experiences, interactions with things, places, people, whatever it is, other humans in a fifth dimensional field. Those interactions is an energetic exchange. And the way this human being in a fifth dimensional frequency understands or computes the experience is through the filtration of the energy exchange between themselves and whatever it is they're experiencing. A human, the ocean, a rock, a crystal, whatever it may be. There's an exchange. And so the human, the fifth dimensional human, takes that experience through consciousness, which is energy, and it comes into their filtration system. So it comes into their four subtle bodies. And it is processed through the physical, the mental, and the emotional bodies, fields. Meaning that the experience, which creates the energetic exchange, creates the experiences as energy, moving into the three subtle bodies to be experienced and felt so that the human understands their reality. Okay, so for instance, if a fifth dimensional human were to have an experience with a crystal, a huge 4-foot crystal, right? The human goes up to the crystal, and let's just say the human holds that crystal, kneels with the crystal and holds it, right? There is an energetic exchange that happens between the physical human and the crystal. That energetic exchange, energy, is a consciousness, moves into the human body. The human body, the vessel, then starts to filter the consciousness, the energies. And so the physical body will feel, right? So it's going to feel physical sensations, like maybe there's an energetic pulsing. Maybe the physical body starts to vibrate. Maybe the physical body starts to have tingling sensations. Maybe the physical body gets warm. The emotional body in that fifth dimensional human, the emotional body might have a feeling of more love or joy, right? And then the mental could be anything such as the mental part of that fifth dimensional human is going to think or hold awareness around, a crystal holds energy. This crystal is powerful. This crystal is providing an exchange of energy to me. Constructs, ideas, thoughts around the crystal. So that's an example in a fifth dimensional reality field, how the body filters. So the physical field, the physical body filters through physical sensations. The consciousness comes in as an energy, vibration, a frequency, moves through this channel, which is the energetic grid inside, and the physical body feels it. The mental body pulls in consciousness and filters the experience through thought and beliefs. The emotional field, the emotional body, filters the consciousnesses and energy that comes in through this exchange through emotional feelings, love, joy, peace. Now, the key to being in a fifth dimensional field is that when that human experiences that, these consciousnesses vibrating at a specific field, they're vibrating, it's an energy that vibrates, it moves in and it's getting filtered through the subtle bodies, the subtle fields, and it's experienced and felt completely. So the fifth dimensional human is in their body feeling it. So the only way that you can experience this interaction is by being in your body. So the fifth dimensional human is in their body because they're feeling and experiencing this interaction with the crystal. They're feeling things through their thought process, they're feeling things through their emotional experience, and they're feeling things through their physical experience. Okay? And it goes, and these consciousnesses and energies move through the entire field. All three fields, the energy comes through, the energy is felt, and the energy moves through. Because in a fifth dimensional field, you're very present. You're only in the now moment. So whatever is your now moment, you're experiencing it completely until there is another now moment. That's what it means to be in the present moment, is when you are in an experience, you are feeling it completely until that experience is done, which means that that consciousness has cleared through all the subtle bodies. The subtle bodies, again, are designed to filter consciousnesses in a fifth dimensional field. Everything is energy. Everything is consciousness. We are energetic beings experiencing energy and consciousness outside of us. Just because we can't see it doesn't mean that it's not there. It's how we experience our world. In a fifth dimensional world, they are present moment. So everything is felt completely, moved through, processed through onto the next experience, maybe with a human. That experience creates the energies, the consciousnesses, they move through, they're felt, experienced, and nothing stays in. Nothing clogs the light body, nothing clogs the light being, nothing clogs their connection, nothing needs to be healed, nothing needs to be processed, nothing needs to be energetically evacuated out of. There's no necessity or need for healing in those states, in those higher states, because by being in the present moment, you are allowing that moment to move completely through you. Whatever that consciousness is, whatever it's creating, and you're processing, you're going to feel it to its completion. Fifth dimensional beings. Now, when we descended down into the third dimension, we kept the subtle bodies in the third dimension, but in a third dimensional field, a third dimensional consciousness, like I've said before in a lot of my videos, there is, because the energy is slowed down, so it's not spinning as fast. So the light energy spins faster the higher dimension you go. So if you're in a fifth dimension, the energy is spinning faster than a third dimension. This is 5D, let's just say. This is 3D. The slower the consciousness is spinning, the more you have to experience in that consciousness. So it's stretched. So in a third dimension, we are allowing ourselves or able to experience way more consciousness or energy through every exchange we have. And so the subtle bodies are extremely important aspects and part of our filtration devices as we move about and experience the third dimension. But they've been working overtime. So in a fifth dimensional frequency in life, it's just processed through and done, on to the next. In a third dimensional reality, because of all of the different varieties of experiences, consciousnesses, energy the human can have, the filtration devices within us, the fields within us that are designed to filter the energy, are working overtime. And I'll tell you why. First, let me just go back to one more thing. I don't know if I spoke about this, but the reason that we have the subtle bodies, you guys, let's just talk about third dimension. The reason we have the subtle bodies is because we have to be able to filter energy. We have to be able to understand an energetic field that is vibrating at a very slow, low consciousness. Now you think, well, I'm just in my life and I'm just experiencing people, places, things, events, traumas, pains, all these things. I'm just experiencing it. There's no magic about it. There's no design that needs to happen around it. Well, that's only because you're in this matrix. You're forgetting that it's actually all consciousness and all energy, and you're in a physical form. So you have to be able to manipulate and filter the consciousnesses that you're experiencing. Any interaction, any engagement at any moment in your life is an exchange of energy. No matter what it is, who it is, where it is, doesn't matter. It's an exchange of energy which creates an experience. So the human vessel needed a way to figure, it's like a map. You know, you have this experience, you have this exchange, the energy is felt and moved into you. Now, your system needs to know what this energy is. What is this energy? Because remember that when you are in a very high frequency, let's say you came from a 12th or 13th dimensional frequency, your experience there is not going to be the same as down here. In a third dimension, you're not going to be able to reflect back to 12th dimensional and be like, oh, this is how you experience energy, and this is what it's like to experience energy, and this is how you filter energy in. And, by the way, this is such a dense energetic exchange that it requires a serious filtration system inside of us to process the dense consciousness and energy that's coming through. Even in a fifth dimension, it's much denser. Love in a fifth dimension vibrates slower than love in a 12th dimension. The feeling and experience of love in a 12th dimensional frequency feels very different than a love frequency in a fifth dimension. Because that frequency, love frequency, is spinning slower because you're experiencing it in a fifth dimensional field. So the feeling of love in a third dimensional field is going to feel like love that's spinning slower. So it's going to have a different vibration. It's going to have a different experience when it comes into your field and it gets filtered through. When a fifth dimensional human experiences a fifth dimensional experience of love, that frequency is vibrating in the field it's in, which is 5D, and it will be filtered in as 5D, and it will be felt differently because it's vibrating at a different consciousness, at a different frequency. So just because you feel love in one dimension and then you feel love in another dimension, it's not the same feeling. It feels different because it's vibrating differently. It's very simple. It's physics. Energy spins at a specific rate and it's experienced from that rate that it's spinning at. And when you move into a different dimensional field that is spinning faster, anything in that field is going to be spinning faster, which is going to be felt differently. So back to who we are in third dimension. Here's what happens to us. Okay, we drop into the body as a baby, completely aligned, completely connected. Our systems are on, our filtration devices are ready to go, and from day one, we start to have experiences with our outside world, whether it's with our parents, whether it's with animals, whether it's with food, or, the boob trying to get milk, or where you're sleeping at night, the blankets on you, whatever it is, you begin to have experiences, which is just energetic exchanges. And because it is at a third dimensional field, there's much more to experience. There's much more pain. There's much more fears. There's much more trauma. There's much more anxiety and stress. All these things that are not felt in the 5D are felt in the three-dimensional world. So here's what happens. Let's just say you're 5 years old. Okay, I'm just going to give an example. You're 5 years old and you have an experience with a dog. Okay, and the experience that you have is that the dog barks and bites you. Okay, and you're 5 years old. So here comes an experience. It's an energetic exchange between you and the dog. And it creates consciousness, which is energy, right? And that energy has to move and filter into you. This all happens in a now moment. This isn't like, slow process. It's a now moment that this happens. Energy it just happens, right? This experience happens, energy is felt, consciousness is felt, boom, it comes in, you understand this experience through the consciousness moving through you. Now, when this energetic exchange happens, creating the energy and the consciousness, it moves into your system, it moves into your channel, and then you begin to experience it in the physical, mental, and emotional filters. So the filters that are designed to take these consciousnesses and move them through you begin to basically tell you what just happened. So your physical body, you're going to have pain wherever you were bit. Your physical form is going to hurt. So you're in your body because you can feel it. You feel the pain. Emotionally, you're going to be scared, frightened, angry, sad, nervous, worried. Who knows, right? Those are the emotions that are going to be felt through the consciousness of this energetic exchange. And then mentally, you're going to say, dogs are unsafe, dogs aren't friendly, dogs aren't nice, dogs bite humans. This is an energetic exchange. This is what happened consciously, not consciously. This is what happened energetically, right? And when it came through, energetically, when this consciousness came in, it was filtered through the mental body, and the mental body said, oh, this consciousness is dogs aren't safe, dogs bite, dogs don't like humans. Oh, wow, okay, that's what I get to experience through this interaction. Now, if we were awakened and enlightened humans in a third dimension, we would see that experience and say, wow, this experience allowed me to feel, see, and experience that dogs are unsafe, dogs bite humans, blah, 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 right? And I got to feel sadness and fear of animals, and I got to feel worry and whatever it was, right? Here's what happens though. We're not conscious of that. And so these consciousnesses come in. And because we aren't present, so what happens as a child is you have that experience and then you freak out and you don't allow, it's very unconscious, but we don't allow those consciousnesses to move all the way through the filtration system. So what will happen is we'll have this experience, and depending upon how traumatic it is, this consciousness that comes into the mental body, the consciousness that comes into the emotional body, and even the consciousness that comes into the physical body, the consciousness that comes into the physical body, because it's a physical pain, it will eventually subside. It will clear out. It will filter through. But the consciousnesses that are felt in the physical and mental, if this child that was 5 doesn't stay inside the experience to allow the consciousness to just move through and just filter it through, experience it all. It may take the child a day, it may take the child 5 days, right? 10 days, 2 weeks, who knows? Meaning the child is staying inside the experience to have it completely, to allow it to move through itself completely. If the child can stay in that space and allow it to move through, now because we're in a third dimension, time is elongated, time is stretched, right? So what would take a fifth dimensional human 2 seconds to process is going to take a third dimensional human a couple weeks to process. Okay? As we're speeding up, as we can see right now in our now moment, 2019, things are happening so fast that we can process things very quickly. But let's just say 30 years ago, 40 years ago, as a child, no, you couldn't. Time was much slower. And so to process an experience like that, process means that you feel it to its completion, meaning that it's completely resolved and out of you. How do you know? You no longer have a reaction to a dog, right? So you sit in the emotion, you sit in the mental things that came up. Dogs aren't safe. I don't like dogs. Dogs bite humans. I'm scared of dogs. All these things that are going to filter through you from this one experience. You allow it to move all the way through you. Just process it through, clear it through, filter it through until you don't feel it anymore. You look at a dog and you don't feel that. You don't feel a fear from a dog. Okay. Now, because we're having so many of these experiences, not just the dog experience, but every day there's experience after experience after experience, that it can become very challenging to stay present with each one to allow it to filter through. And if it is a traumatic experience, you're not going to be in your body to let it filter through. For instance, let's say you're in your 20s and you find your first love and you're madly, you meet the person and you have your first couple days exchange. And again, here's the exchange, here's the interaction, which creates energy and consciousness that's filtered through the body, right? So let's just talk about the very first day you meet the person, right? Boom, there's an energetic exchange. Consciousness moves through and you feel it in your body. You're getting the stomach butterflies, right? You're a little nervous. Maybe you're sweating, right? There's sweat under the armpits or something. You're breathing heavy. Maybe you're dropping down a little bit more into your body. Your heart's beating faster. Those are the physical experiences of the energy coming in. Emotionally, you're giddy. You're happy. There's a lot of joy. There's a lot of calmness, maybe peace, maybe nervousness, right? That's the consciousness that you're feeling through this exchange, moving through and filtering through. Mentally, you're thinking, oh my God, I really like this person. Oh my God, I'm really digging this person. Oh my God, this person is my type. Oh, these are the thought processes, right? So if this is the first time you've felt this, and because it's a joyful experience, you're going to feel this all the way through. So you're going to be present with that person. You're going to be feeling all these experiences and consciousnesses, energies moving through. You're going to process it all the way through. You're not going to not be present, right? I mean, how many times have you been in moments with individuals that you deeply, deeply love, and time just sort of stops, right? Especially when you first start being with somebody, dating somebody, right? A partner, you'll notice that you'll be with them and time just doesn't exist. It's because you're so present with the experience, with the energetic exchange, and you're very much in your body, and you don't hold any consciousness in you. You just let it flow. You feel it completely. Now, fast forward 3 years, and that love ends, and you are heartbroken. And there is an exchange that happens at some point with you and this other person. And when that exchange is happening, there is an energetic consciousness that moves into the system. Let's say it's the final argument, the final conversation, the last day of, the last breakup, whatever it is, it moves in. And it's extremely uncomfortable. This energy is extremely uncomfortable, the opposite of the first day you met this person. And of course, it's this consciousness, because it's just consciousness, has to be filtered through the systems. Okay? So in the body, the physical body, you're going to feel nauseous. Maybe you'll feel numbness. Maybe you won't be hungry. Maybe you'll be starving. Who knows? But a lot of physical symptoms you'll start to feel if you're present and if you're in the body. Now, there's many people that disassociate the second they start to feel anything come in. And that's a problem. I'll talk about that in a second. When we disassociate from the experience right away, that's where we clog our energy systems. That's where we clog the energy centers. That's where we clog the subtle bodies. That's where we clog our energy inside of us, right? That's how we dim the light. So you experience this breakup moment. Physically, you feel it if you're in your body. Mentally, you're thinking, it's not safe to love. It's not safe for me to love somebody. Nobody wants to love me. Nobody's going to love me. Love hurts. Whatever it is that comes through consciously into the mental body, into the subtle body, the things you think about, the beliefs that you're going to start to hold about life and love and partners. And then there's the emotional filter. Heartache, pain, sadness, grief, loss, being alone, fear of being alone, isolation, whatever it is that you emotionally experience. Now, you're in your body and you're feeling it. You start to feel it and you say, oh, hell no, I'm not feeling this. This is unconscious, by the way, but you start to tap into what this experience is making you feel, and you don't want to feel it. So you escape out. Unconsciously, you jump out of the body and you say, sorry, I'm not feeling that. Not fun, not enjoyable, don't know how long it's going to last, I'm out. So when you jump out, depending upon how disassociated you get from the experience, the energy and consciousness that was moving through stops. Side note, how does consciousness energy move through? Through your own awareness of it, by experiencing it, by feeling it. So you move energy and consciousness through you by feeling it and seeing it and acknowledging it. So you acknowledge the thoughts, you acknowledge and feel the feelings, and you acknowledge and feel the physical sensations until they're no longer there. But when you disassociate, you're no longer paying attention. You don't want to feel them. You don't want to hear the thoughts. You don't want any of it. And so what happens is that consciousness doesn't go anywhere. Then what happens is you have more of these experiences, not just in relationship. I'm talking about in everyday situations, right? And maybe you'll experience this experience. Maybe you'll experience 75% of it. Meaning you'll stay in your body and you'll let 75% of that consciousness move through you. And 25% you're not going to finish the entire process. Then you go on and you have more. And so very slowly throughout your life, you are creating and holding on to dense consciousness in each of the subtle bodies that you never fully filtered through. So here's the other thing that happens, which is, by the way, what we're clearing out right now in our now moment through Ascension. So a consciousness spins at a certain vibration. When higher frequencies of light come into the physical form, what do you think it's doing? It's first of all spinning at a much higher frequency. And when much higher frequencies of light spin and consume or come into consciousness and energy that is slower, it's going to wake it up. It's going to filter it, push it, move it, activate it, start making you feel it, start making you see it again, start making you think it again. That's why we're like, why am I thinking these things I've never thought before? Why am I feeling these things I've never felt in a long time? Because they're consciousnesses or energies that you've stored in the subtle body that you haven't fully filtered through. So here's the other thing that happens. The other thing that happens is, let's just take the breakup. Because we didn't fully feel the pain completely until it was complete. What could happen in another moment when we meet another person, another partner, and we have that very first interaction, we're going to start to feel the same sort of feelings that we had in the first interaction with our first love. We're going to have the giddiness, we're going to have the tingling, we're going to have the I really like this guy, the same consciousness. Not the exact same, because it's a different energy person. The person holds different energy, but it's the same sort of energetic vibrations. They're going to filter straight through the body, and you're going to start to feel the same similar experiences in the mental, emotional, and physical fields or bodies. And this is what happens. You get triggered. What's a trigger? Trigger is when a dense consciousness that never filtered through gets activated, meaning you are going to start to feel these feelings, and then it's going to move into, let's say, the emotional body, and it's going to And you're going to feel it as, oh, I like this person. And that consciousness is going to remind you, this energetic consciousness is going to literally bump into or connect it to the breakup consciousness that you felt. When you felt this, you felt this, because this is still in there. This is not cleared out. Now, if you had cleared completely that breakup by just feeling it all the way through, when this consciousness came in of, oh, I really like this guy, when that consciousness came into the emotional field, this breakup pain wouldn't be here. I can't be loved feeling, right? Or the pain. We're in the emotional body, so it's pain. Or heartbreak, that heartbreak pain, right? That's the emotional consciousness right here. Oh my God, I really like this guy. And here it comes, and here it comes. And what it does is through the experience of moving into the emotional body, it begins to remind you and tap into a consciousness that you experienced from this once before. So it's a trigger. Hey, you felt this once before, and when you did, you also felt this because it's still here. Remember, you felt this? Remember, this was in your reality? Remember, this could happen again? Remember, this didn't go anywhere? Don't forget about this. That's a trigger. You're being triggered to look at it because it never filtered through. And so then the human thinks, oh, and by the way, the mental energies come in, and the mental energies that are coming in are I like this guy. The emotional energy is the feeling of liking, right? Your heartbeat, you feel that kind of like there's an excitement, there's joy, there's fun, those kind of emotional feelings. The mental is I like this guy. I like this guy. And then the consciousness held in that mental field that never got cleared and filtered through is you don't deserve to be loved. You can't be loved. If you love, you'll get hurt. If you love, you'll get hurt. If you love, you'll get hurt, right? Because it never filtered through. So then you're moving into this next partnership with these underlying beliefs and emotions that are weighing on you, that are like shadows, that are like, don't forget, this is here. Don't forget what happened. Don't forget. It's a consciousness. It's not actually saying that. It's a consciousness that you're starting to feel now. It's one of those things where I wasn't feeling this before. Why am I all of a sudden feeling that heartache from that partner 3 years ago? Because all of a sudden you're engaging in the same consciousness again. And that consciousness is moving in. And when that consciousness moves in, it's going to tap right into the same consciousness that you didn't filter through. So you're going to play out a role with this other person, partner, with these guards up, protecting yourself, making sure that what happened in the past doesn't happen now because you never cleared out that past energetic experience. And it's not until we clear and filter through the entire experience that we are no longer held to our past. And that's what's so beautiful about the Ascension process, is that it's allowing us to release the past. It's allowing us to have all these things come up in our subtle bodies that we don't have to do anything with other than allow it to just move through. That's it. We don't have to look at this consciousness that says, let's say the mental piece is, I don't deserve to be loved. It's just an energy and a consciousness that you're tapping into. I don't deserve to be loved. Or if I love someone, I'll be hurt. I'm going to get hurt if I love someone. Well, that's great. It's there for a reason. That consciousness dropped into the mental body because at some point down the line, probably multiple times down the line, you had an energetic exchange, an experience with another human being where you felt that consciousness. And instead of allowing it to move all the way through you by staying in the physical body with it all, allowing it to filter, you jumped out because why would you want to have that experience? Why would you want to think that? Why would you want that, right? The human doesn't want that. You don't know how long it's going to last. And so you don't stay with it until it's cleared out. So now in this process of ascension, all these old, past thoughts, feelings, emotions, experiences are coming up in these subtle bodies, and you don't need to attach it to anything. You don't need to go and search for the past and find out what story is it attached to. This doesn't matter. You could go back and find all of these experiences with different partners. Write the names down, process it all. What did you think and feel and hear? It's a waste of time. All you need to do is connect to the consciousness that's coming up, the energy that's coming up. Oh, if I love somebody, I'm going to get hurt. Okay, great. You already know, just because you're becoming aware of consciousness and energy, that it stems from past experiences and that it's just an energy. So what you do is what you do is what we should have been doing all along, which is what fifth dimensional humans do, which is I'm just going to feel it until it's gone, or I'm going to pay attention to it until it's gone. So if it's a thought, if it's a belief, instead of moving away from the belief or trying to change the belief, right? There's so many people out there that say, oh, well, just change the way you think, change the way what you believe, just change it. That's doing a disservice to the ascension process. You don't want to change anything. If there is a thought that's coming up, it's because it was never filtered through. And if you try to change it, you're trying to manipulate that energy and consciousness. It doesn't want to be manipulated. That thought is a consciousness that doesn't need to be manipulated. What does it need? It needs to be seen. It needs to be heard. It needs to be acknowledged. And then just by doing that, it will filter through. Because remember, the way these beings have designed the human form is that you bring awareness to whatever consciousness's energy is popping up to move through, and you bring awareness to it until it's no longer there, until you're no longer thinking about it. And for some, it can take a very long time, and for others, it could take 2 seconds, 2 hours, 2 days, 2 months. But if you step away, turn your back and say, I don't want to go there, or I'm going to change it. Same with emotion, you guys. If there's an emotion coming up that you don't want to experience, don't experience it, but it's going to keep coming. You don't need to go back and figure it out where it came from. We already know it came from something, somewhere, probably many places, okay? But you don't change it. Don't change it. Don't try to move yourself into a higher vibrational space. It's coming up to be seen and filtered through. This is how the system works. This is how the energetic grid within us works. Trauma or pain or sadness, fear, loneliness, guilt, whatever it is, it doesn't come up so that you can change it and move it into a higher frequency. Oh, I don't want to feel anger. So I'm going to convince myself to feel a different thing. Well, you're doing, okay, great, but guess what? Anger is going to come up again. Sorry, it's going to come up again because it's associated with something that you experienced back here that was never filtered through. So it's going to keep coming until you just allow yourself to feel it and not try to change it. It's a very big disservice right now with people talking about changing your thoughts, changing your frequency. That's the ego taking control of the situation. And when an ego comes in to try to take control of the natural process of energetic filtering and the ascension itself, you're messing with the natural way that things work. And your ego is in control, which means that you're not letting the higher self be in control, and you're trying to shift things. You're trying to not feel certain things. And it's okay if you are sitting in specific energies which play out as thoughts, and specific energies that play out as emotions over and over again. It just means that you've had many experiences that have created many consciousnesses and energetic consciousnesses that have filtered in and have remained in these subtle bodies because at that time you didn't want to filter it all the way through because it was uncomfortable. That's why we have all these beautiful defense mechanisms to not allow ourselves to feel a lot of it, right? We have all these escapes, all these things that we can do, which is very beautiful. But we're recognizing that we can't use them anymore. We actually have to process this and move this through us. We have to move into these subtle bodies and let them do what they've been designed to do, which is filter all the way through, which is what we are doing. I just want to make sure. Yeah. So what's also happening is, what you're going to start to realize is, again, so let's go back really quickly to how do we allow whatever experience we're having from this point forward to just filter through us? You stay present. So whatever experience you're having, whatever exchange you're having, whether it's with an animal, a plant, a tree, a person, a car, a computer, I mean, anything, it's all energetic exchange. Okay? And you want to just be present with that energetic exchange and feel the consciousness and energy coming in. That's why it's so important to get in the body. And that's why it's so important to understand your energy, your energetic field. How are you processing the world energetically? It's all energy. And so when you have an exchange going forward from this point on, from this day on, whatever day this is that you're watching this video, when you have an exchange with anything, what are you feeling? What are your thoughts? What are your emotions? What's your body doing? Where are you? Are you staying in? Are you escaping out? It's too painful. I don't want to feel that. Whatever this is. How present can you get with this experience and feel it all the way through? Which means that, let's just say you have an argument with your boss. And during that exchange, in comes consciousness. Maybe there's a thought of, I'm stupid, I'm dumb. This is the consciousness that's created. This is what was experienced consciously. This is the energetic exchange. Boom. And that's what was felt and experienced and moved through the mental, right? Maybe it's a consciousness of, I'm dumb, or I don't deserve the raise. Now, I'm not going to go into why this experience was created. That's a completely different video, but that experience was created for a reason, and it was created by you and your higher self, regardless of whether you understand that right now or not. So there's something still within you that needs to process or have those conscious experiences telling you that you're not smart enough, that you're not good enough, that you don't deserve the raise, right? Regardless, that's the exchange. And then emotionally, you're going to feel maybe anger or embarrassment or sadness, maybe rage, right? Whatever it is that you feel emotionally through this. And then physically, maybe there's a heat that comes up, your cheeks get red, you get sweaty, maybe you're starting to breathe faster, your heart's beating faster. If you can stay in that and just feel it as much as you possibly can, you'll notice that it will come and go, right? But you're going to stay in the experience of it throughout your day or days until it's moved through, it's filtered through. And how do you know that it's filtered through as opposed to, oh, I disassociated from it, right? The way you know that it's filtered through is that you stayed with the experience. So maybe it will feel like, well, I'm dwelling on it, or I'm this, or I'm that. Stop dwelling on it. Stop thinking about it. Well, it's not that you're dwelling on it. It's not that you're thinking about it. You're processing it. You're experiencing this. What the human thinks is you're dwelling on it. You're holding it for too long. You need to let it go. That's a big disservice we've done, is let it go. Because let it go means disassociate from this experience so you don't filter it all the way through. We do it with children all the time. Stop holding on to that. Stop continuing to feel that. That happened 3 days ago, and the child's still processing it. It needs to move through. By the way, in a third dimensional field, a third dimensional consciousness, energy moves slower. So it takes a little bit longer. By the way, a really uncomfortable consciousness or energy like trauma, like abuse, like physical abuse, emotional abuse, mental abuses, they are very low frequency, very low vibration. So the less comfortable it is, the lower in vibration it spins, which means it takes longer to filter through. It's just physics. It's just energy. A physical abuse onto you, that conscious exchange is slow, is a very slow spin. The interaction between you and the person that gives you that physical abuse, that consciousness and energy is spinning much slower than a consciousness and energy of exchange where somebody is hugging you or making love to you or kissing you. That energy is felt at a higher frequency. So it comes in, you're present with it, you feel it, it filters through, you're on to the next thing, right? But with an abuse, it's slower. So it takes longer to filter through. Not only do you not want to feel it, but because of the way it's spinning, it takes longer to filter through the subtle body, which is annoying and frustrating. So I went all over the place with this, but the point is that we have subtle bodies for a reason, just like we have a higher self for a reason, just like we have DNA for a reason, just like we have cells for a reason. We have subtle bodies. They have designed that for us so that we can filter our experience. And when we have a very fun, positive, joyful, great energetic exchange, it filters through pretty quickly. When we have traumatic or not so fun exchanges, it filters through slower. Sometimes it doesn't filter all the way through because we don't want to stay in it. We want to get out. And we've been living in such a slow vibrational state that to be in the present moment was extremely uncomfortable. Now, not only are we receiving tons of light coming into us that's spinning much faster, so it's activating us, it's increasing the dense consciousnesses that we've been holding inside. It's pushing it up into our conscious awareness. So we're feeling it, seeing it, experiencing it, both physically, emotionally, and mentally. So all three of these bodies are being, the stuff is coming up. So especially if you're having physical ailments, it's just consciousness stored, right? And so the light's coming in more and more and more, are being activated. These dense consciousnesses are coming up every once in a while. Don't ignore it. Don't do what you've done in the past. Let it filter through. Don't try to change yourself into a higher vibrational state. Oh, I got to be in a higher vibration. I got to be in a higher... No. You just got to be in what you're at. That's how you get to where you're going. You get to the next highest version of you by being present in where you're at. So anyone that tells you, well, just shift your thoughts. Just shift how you're feeling. Just shift how you're thinking. Tell them to leave you alone because you have to be present with whatever you're going through. Anything you're going through. And whatever length of time, if you know that it's filtering through you, if you remember and trust you're not stuck in it, you're not going to stay in it. You're not going to stay in it. It will filter through. It's energy. Depression is energy. Depression is a collective consciousness of experiences. So if you can imagine moving into the emotional body and seeing all these tiny little clouds of consciousness that are all these different emotional experiences you've had that haven't been fun that you stored inside the emotional body. And imagine depression is sort of a collection of these consciousnesses forming a much bigger consciousness or energy. And you tap into it, you feel it. Every once in a while or quite some time, right? And it takes a very long time sometimes to filter through depression because of how big of a consciousness it is. So something that's the size of a penny in terms of a traumatic experience or pain or a fear or whatever it is, anger, rage, resentment, jealousy, you name it. Whatever's stored inside there that wasn't felt through. Imagine it's like a penny. And when it starts to boil up, either through another experience out here that triggers it, or the light coming in that just pops it up, you'll start to filter it through and it'll slowly go through and maybe a month later it'll be gone, right? But with a depression, it's like the size of a large sweet potato, larger than that. And so imagine light coming in and starting to shine on this collective, this depression. Experiences being had out here that come in and trigger that depression. And in order to filter through the depression, you have to be in it. You have to feel it. Again, remember, the only way to filter things through is to bring awareness to it. My heart goes out to everybody that has experienced depression and is currently experiencing depression, because you can't control it, but you have to trust that it's consciousness just trying to move itself through you. And the more you can understand that, the more you can hold that other reality that it is moving through you, especially with more light coming in, more higher frequencies, more light codes. It's activating us in so many ways, remembering that we're an electrical grid system inside of us. There is a huge electrical system inside of us that is far more powerful than our physical bodies. Far more powerful. And we're starting to remember this. We're starting to remember. And the subtle bodies are fields, they're subtle fields, they're energies that hold and filter our experiences out here. And because we have lived in a playground full of millions of different experiences, we have loved some and hated some. We've stored some and we've released some. And what we are doing now is clearing out the subtle bodies completely, so that in every now moment, we're clear. So we can hold more light within us, like a fifth dimensional human does. Remember, we're moving into a fifth dimensional frequency eventually, God knows how long, but a very long time from now, but eventually we'll be in a fifth dimensional field and a fifth dimensional body, fifth dimensional frequency, which holds a heck of a lot more light than we're doing now. And the only way to hold a heck of a lot more light is to not have dense consciousness taking up space. It's not our faults. It's the field we live in. We live in a third dimensional, slower, denser consciousness. Every experience, if it's not filtered through, is going to get stuck. I hope this was useful. I hope this made sense. I really do. Let me know. I think I'm done. I could continue to talk for a very long time, but I think I'm done. Yeah, I think I'm finished. So just know that triggers in a higher state of consciousness, triggers are just consciousnesses within the subtle bodies that when an experience happens that is very similar to this consciousness still inside, when this consciousness is experienced, it's going to come in and it's going to filter through whatever subtle body, and it's going to tap into and say, oh, the last time I had this happened, and boom, it triggers it. It clicks it. It connects you. And then you start remembering this. You're like, why the heck am I feeling this? I haven't felt this in a long time. Defense mechanisms. Basically, defense mechanisms is when got distracted. Defense mechanism is when we disassociate or say, oh, I don't want to feel that. I'm going to create some sort of mechanism, system within me to separate from, to not feel, right? Things that take us out of being in the body. And to move through any now moment that you're having, you just stay present as you can by feeling it completely, by being in the body, by feeling the energy around you. So from this point forward, when you go out into the world, how present can you be in your experience, in every experience? How present can you be? How much can you feel everything? An annoying conversation, a frustrating event, a joyful exchange, a beautiful, tap on the shoulder or hug, an exchange with an animal, beeping your horn at somebody, screaming at somebody at the stoplight, whatever it is that you're going to have in your human experience, how present can you get with it so that it doesn't stay stuck in you? How much can you feel it, see it, experience it, hear it, know it, all of it? Let it come through you. Sit with it, be with it, have it. Because one last thing, Shifting into higher states of consciousness is not you convincing yourself or trying to tell yourself to move into a higher state of consciousness. You can't think yourself into a higher state of consciousness. You can't think yourself into a higher dimension. You can't think it. You have to be in it. You have to feel it. And the only way you do that, my friends, is by getting into the body. And believe it or not, once you get into the body, all this other crap is going to come up first. So if you want to move into higher states of consciousness, like everyone's talking about, and staying in a high vibration, high vibe, you better be in your body. That's how you feel it. And if you're in your body, you're also going to feel all the denser consciousnesses that are coming up to clear. And every human on the earth plane is still clearing consciousnesses, unless you're an enlightened monk somewhere in a cave. It's just a matter of how often and how much is still stuck in the subtle bodies that are clearing. For some humans, there's very little left. And so they're going about their day in a very high vibrational state. They're very connected. They're very charged up because there isn't that much left. They've cleared a lot. And there's a ton of us that are still clearing a ton. But these people over here, including myself, that are still clearing out a whole bunch of dense consciousness, you can't get to where these people are at, which is in a higher vibrational state, by just trying to move there, by just trying to convince yourself, to talk yourself into it, to do any sort of like meditations and things like that. You know, you have to come into the body. And once you do that, not only will you feel this consciousness once in a while, but you'll also feel the dense consciousness that needs to clear. You'll feel both. Welcome to the Ascension process. You've got to get in the body to feel it. You've got to get in the body to feel this frequency. So anyone that says that, change your thoughts, change your emotions, change it, think yourself into this, or whatever it is that people are talking about and saying, unless you're in your body feeling it, you're not going anywhere. And then the trick is, once you're in your body, you're going to feel all kinds of other crap. And that doesn't mean that you're not shifting. So what happens is the human jumps into the body to start to feel again and to start to be in this higher, because you can't move into higher states of consciousness without being in your body. You can't. It's all energy. And what's energy? It's feeling. Processing and inside, feeling inside. The energy comes in. You got to get in to feel the energy. You got to get in to feel your frequency. You got to get in to feel your vibration. You've got to get in. And what happens when we get in? We also start to feel all the denser consciousnesses that we ignored for 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 years. And when we come in and start to feel that, thinking we're coming in to feel these higher vibrations, we start feeling these denser things and we're like, oh shit, I've done something wrong. I'm on the wrong course. I've screwed up. I'm never going to get to this consciousness. Meanwhile, you absolutely are. By coming into the body and feeling this consciousness, right? Every once in a while you feel this higher vibration and you feel the denser consciousnesses. Bravo. That's exactly what you want to do. That's exactly what you want to be doing. You want to be feeling these higher states of consciousness and the denser consciousnesses. That means you're in your body and you're shifting into higher and higher states of consciousness. Anyone that tells you that you shouldn't be feeling these consciousnesses that are not so fun as you shift are sadly mistaken. You can't get here without clearing everything out of the subtle bodies. And you're not doing anything wrong by feeling it all. You haven't slipped back. You haven't screwed up. You haven't taken 12 steps back and now you have to do all this extra work to get there, to get to where you were when you were in that high vibration. Shifting requires you to go back and forth, because when you're in your body, you don't just shift and stay there. You are shifting into a higher vibrational speed or field at the exact same time as you're clearing out. So you're going to be going back and forth, back and forth. You're going to feel a higher vibration one day, and you're going to feel the filtering out of the denser muck. And then you're going to feel the higher vibration, and you're going to feel the denser muck, because you're getting more and more present, and you're getting more and more in your body. Nothing's changing. You didn't go back. You didn't slide back into a denser space and time. You're shifting. You're shifting and clearing as you're shifting, and feeling higher states of consciousness as you're shifting, and you're clearing as you're shifting. You don't shift and then fall way back here and then like, oh shit, I got a long ways to go now. I got to get all the way back up here and then fall back again. That's not what's happening with you. You are in the body, tapping into a higher consciousness, coming back a little bit, feeling, clearing out the emotional, mental, physical stuff, shifting while you're doing it, and then popping up into this higher frequency as you're in your body, clearing, tapping into the higher frequency as you're in your body, clearing. And each time you tap into that higher consciousness, and then you come down a little bit to feel the denser stuff, you're still getting closer and closer and closer to this consciousness, to this higher frequency. So I'll do it down here. Higher frequency, let's just say fourth dimensional frequency. And here you are, right? And you'll pop up and you'll feel it. And then you'll slide back down so that you can process these things that you're going through. But this is the spinning, and you're moving up. You're always moving up. No matter what you're clearing out and processing, you're always moving up. No matter how painful and how difficult this is, you're always moving up. And each time you kind of tap into that fourth dimensional space or fifth dimensional space, and then you slide down a little bit to process. But again, you're always moving up. This video is an hour. I gotta go. All right, you guys, I hope this was useful. Thank you so much. I love you all so much. Let me know your comments down below. I love to read all your comments. There's a ton of them, so I don't get to respond to them, but I read every single one of them. So just know that. I love you all so much for being here, for subscribing, for sharing the video. Please share this with anybody that may need to hear it, that may resonate with it. Like the video if you liked it. I love you all. I am so, so grateful for every single one of you. And I look forward to the next video. Be very gentle with yourselves. Bye.